This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. It's time to get right to it with Donald Trump and Tuesday. We know he's been indicted. We're pretty sure it's on 30 or more felony and misdemeanor counts. We're pretty sure that it's based on a catch and kill program that was designed by David Pecker of the National Enquirer, a BFF of Donald Trump, going back to their days trolling around Palm Beach County, Florida as bachelors, and people that were part of that program because they were paid off because they had had affairs or sex with Donald Trump, including Karen McDougal, a Playboy playmate, where he had a long affair, Donald Trump did, and also Stormy Daniels, where she was paid off in and around the same time. That is the substance of the set of crimes for this particular prosecution, not to be confused with what's going on in federal process with Jack Smith and 3 separate grand juries, or Fani Willis in Georgia with her election interference prosecution. So let's stay focused. What happens? He'll appear in court. The lead trial lawyers, I'm pretty sure it's Susan Necklace, could be Joe Tacopina, but I doubt it, will announce their appearance in court. Mr. Trump will stand next to them. The indictment is read aloud. Copies are given to counsel. And then they'll start their attack, which is the defense that we've been hearing for this 4-day delay while they've been holed up in Mar-a-Lago developing their strategy, which Joe Tacopina has tested out on network television, not to great success. But now they're in a courtroom. Now they got a Judge Juan Merchan, who already presided over another Trump debacle, a Trump conviction of 17-count tax fraud in December brought against his 2 main companies that he operates business through the testimony of Alan Weisselberg, his CFO, sitting and wrapping up 5 months in Rikers. What are they going to do as lawyers? I'm a defense lawyer, and let's talk about what I think they're going to do. They're going to go after the indictment in public in front of the judge. They're going to, of course, they're going to say not guilty to each of the 34 counts. They're going to start attacking it. They're going to say, we're going to file a motion, Your Honor. It's going to seek to dismiss the indictment. This indictment is politically charged. It's phony. It's trumped up. This is their argument, not mine. It is based on misdemeanors at best. It can't be brought up to a felony because the underlying crimes that are connected to the misdemeanor are either not barred by the statute of limitations, or the Federal Department of Justice, then led by Bill Barr under Donald Trump, hold that thought, didn't go after Donald Trump for those original crimes. They only went after Michael Cohen. Right, because Bill Barr was the head of the Department of Justice, and this was a Bill Barr special. In fact, there's now reporting that the Manhattan DA at the time, Psy Vance, who was the Manhattan District Attorney, his number 2, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, my co-anchor on Legal AF, that Psy Vance has now let it be known that he was told to step back from prosecuting the case because the feds were looking at it under Bill Barr, and we know what happened next. Michael Cohen was prosecuted and convicted, and this was payback and retribution for him testifying against Donald Trump. But the case about Donald Trump benefiting from the payments to the 2 women, Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels, that never got handled at the federal side. But that's what they're going to argue in court. They're going to argue, dismiss the indictment. The feds looked at this. There's no case here. There's no federal crimes here. He can't, as a state prosecutor, use federal crimes to support his indictment, which they're wrong. He can. They'll go on. They'll say that there are already comments in the special prosecutor who quit the office, Mark Pomerantz, very noisily 3 months after Alvin Bragg took office, has written a tell-all book. And they'll say to the judge, Mark Pomerantz doesn't even believe in this case. And he looked at all the evidence. And in his memoir, he said that it is a very difficult case to even bring involving Stormy Daniels. And he'll also mention that in the book, Mark Pomerantz reveals a confidence that Alvin Bragg shared with Mark Pomerantz before he left, which was, I'm not going to prosecute any case in which Michael Cohen is the lead witness. That is a comment attributed to Alvin Bragg by his former special prosecutor, Mark Pomerantz. They're going to say that in court. Even the prosecutor doesn't believe the witness. Even the feds don't believe the witness. This case shouldn't even be an indictment. Dismiss it right now, Your Honor, which the judge will not do.
Let's take a quick break to talk about our next partner, ZBiotics. Now, if you're like me, you've probably skipped a workout because of drinks the night before. Like, it happens. But if you're committed to your healthy routine, you need ZBiotics. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Just remember to drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Now, I can't lie, after we hit 1 million subscribers, I may have partied a little bit too much that night. But luckily, I knew I had ZBiotics. Now, as instructed, I drank a bottle of ZBiotics before any alcohol, and I was amazed at just how good I felt the next day. Give ZBiotics a try for yourself. Go to zbiotics.com/legalaf to get 15% off your first order when you use LegalAF at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So remember, head to zbiotics.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode.
He will set a briefing schedule to allow all of this to be fully briefed in front of him, and he'll decide on whether the indictment should be dismissed at a later time, but that will not be done in the courtroom. And then I expect either tomorrow on Tuesday or in general that they're going to try to move the venue, change courts, change courthouses for Donald Trump, arguing he can't get a fair trial. Let's unpack that. Where does Donald Trump want to move the trial? There's only one borough in the entire city of New York that leans primarily Republican and voted in a majority way for Donald Trump, and that's Staten Island. That's where Elise Stefanik comes from, or that's her territory. And that has always been historically a very right-leaning, conservative-leaning, Republican-leaning borough. He wants it moved to the Supreme Court that sits in Staten Island. This is the argument, because he'll argue he can't get a fair and impartial trial in Manhattan. Well, let's unpack that for a minute. First of all, the trial judge is not the one that makes the decision on the change of venue. Under New York's uniform rules related to criminal process in 230.20, the appellate division, which is one level up from the state Supreme Court in New York, a little bit confusing. The appellate division is the first tier of appellate review, appeals. Above them is the Court of Appeals. That's the highest court in the state of New York, not the Supreme Court. It's one of the only states that doesn't have its highest court be called the Supreme Court. That's reserved for the trial level, which in most states is usually called the Superior Court. All right? Hopefully you're not too confused. First level appeal, appellate division, a 3-judge panel. They're going to decide on any motion to transfer, because that's what 230.20 the rules say. And there, Donald Trump would have to demonstrate a reasonable cause to believe that a fair and impartial trial cannot be had in Manhattan, in New York County. He's never going to be able to do that. All we need is 12 impartial jurors. That he's pissing off future jurors, that he's annoying them, that he's trying to intimidate them, that he's calling them stupid, that he's going to attack them, no doubt, in social media. That's a given. But that doesn't mean out of a city of 3 million people, a borough of 3 million people, that he can't find 12 impartial jurors who take an oath to swear to apply impartially the facts to the law and the law to the facts. He's never going to make that out, and I'm sure the appellate division, first department, which governs Manhattan, is going to reject any attempt at transfer, see it for what it is, which is blatant, transparent forum shopping. He hates the judge. How do we know he hates the judge? Because, Trump social media'd over the weekend, Truth Socialed over the weekend, I hate the judge. This judge hates me. This judge was terrible to Alan Weisselberg. This judge was terrible to my company when he, made us rush to trial, and then the jury convicted us of 17 counts of criminal fraud. So he's going after, just as he always does, going after Alvin Bragg and Alvin Bragg's wife, of all things, going after the judge, going after the grand jurors, now going after the jurors in the future. At the same time, this is the same guy, Donald Trump, who once said during his campaign that he was so well loved that he could pull out a gun on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan and shoot somebody and get away with it in Manhattan. I guess he thought he could get an impartial jury then. So why can't he get an impartial jury now? Donald, I thought you could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. A very odd thing for a presidential candidate to say, and one that probably would have torpedoed most candidacies, not Donald Trump's. People like when Donald Trump says crazy crap in the MAGA party, in the MAGA side of the party, and they just laugh at him and vote for Trump. But it does cut against his argument that he can't get a fair trial. He's always believed that he's the toast of New York, the toast of Manhattan, the most eligible everything, the most genius everything, the best real estate developer, the best business person, and all of that. Yet he holds up in Mar-a-Lago with a very hermetically sealed, contained group of 7 or 8 people that, are just trying to get close to some sort of notorious person and reputation for whatever reason. But be that as it may, that's what's going to happen on Tuesday. Booking, arraignment, attack on the indictment by the defense team, both inside the courtroom with Judge Merchan and outside the courtroom on the steps, and a possible attempt to move or transfer the case from Manhattan, New York Borough, to Staten Island, which voted 57% in favor of Donald Trump against Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden won the entire state and almost the entire city other than that. That's what's going to happen going forward. Attacking the indictment, using Pomerantz's memoir against the DA's office, using Bragg's comments to Pomerantz against him about Michael Cohen, arguing that this is a misdemeanor at best and not a felony, that the Department of Justice looked at these issues under Bill Barr, who worked for Donald Trump, and found no crime, and therefore the whole indictment should be dismissed. And all that's really going to happen is Donald Trump's going to plead guilty. Judge Merchan is going to set a briefing schedule for future motion practice by the defense if they want to bring it. And in short order, he's going to rule, I'm sure, that none of that indictment gets dismissed. He'll then start having them talk about a trial date and whether Donald Trump is going to waive his right to speedy trial, meaning getting to trial in the next 3 to 4 months, which he's going to waive because it's all about delay. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible that this case gets tried in 2023 at the end. It is. It's more likely first or second quarter 2024, and then we'll have the presidential campaign issues. Although I don't think a presidential candidate has the right to have his case stayed or abated while he's running for office. If he was president, that would be a different story. But a candidate for president, at least at the state court level, I'm not sure that's going to fly, although I'm sure Donald Trump, as it gets closer to the campaign, will try it. That's Michael Popak reporting for Legal AF. I do hot takes like these about every day, and I also co-anchor a show on Wednesdays and Saturdays called Legal AF on the MeidasTouch Network. You can follow me at MS Popak. This is Michael Popak reporting.
Lock him up! Indictment season is upon us. Celebrate with the new Indictment Season t-shirt and v-neck exclusively at store.meidastouch.com.